So after a long time, after a gap of how many 5 weeks, uh, now after finishing the dimension theory, today I will start a new topic called completions. And today I will not do too much, but a little bit of basics, and I will spend some time on the power series rings. So, all right. So I will, in the beginning, I will recall something and also give a brief description what we are heading to. All right. So what we have done so far is to I will recall from the lectures, earlier lectures. So to each commutative ring A, we have associated the spectrum of the ring, and we have uh, put put a topology on this spectrum called as Zariski topology. And we have been studying together commutative rings on one side. On the other side, we are studying this topological space and their association with each other. And this was motivated by the classical uh, setup, which we got it from when K is field, uh, maybe algebraically closed, not though not necessary. In that setup, we have seen things work better. And then we have classical, on one side, we have finite type K algebras. On the other side, we have this, the maximal spectrum, SPM of A. And when the field is not algebraically closed, then we even go further a little bit down to consider the subset K spectrum of it. And we have, in the first few lectures, we have studied this association and so on. And then we have, to each commutative ring, we have associated a number, natural number, which we call it a cool dimension of A. And then we wanted to study the cool dimension. And again, these were dictated to us by our intuitive feeling, which came from topology geometry or analytic geometry. And then we proved that if you have a finite type K algebra, then this cool dimension can be computed easily by using normalization lemma, so-called transcendent degree and so on. It works much better. And we also saw example that when A is general commutative ring, then this number dimension may not be finite. So then we moved on to, with the assumption A is local. And then we proved that this dimension is finite by associating two more numbers and proving the equality of the three numbers. The two numbers where one was the degree of the Hilbert-Samuel polynomial, and the other was what is called Chevalier dimension. And both these numbers have more sophisticated meaning that we have mentioned earlier. So that was it. And then further what? How did we come to this local ring? One of the reasons why we came to the local ring, that is because ultimately we don't go away from this assumption that K is a finite type algebra and this and that. So basically, we wanted to study the local behavior of this topological space, spectrum of A, and then we fix a point there P or Px. So if you call this as X, then we call that point a small x. When we go to algebra, we will keep calling P and so on. So that was the same notation I want to use. So we wanted to study, if you draw the picture, you have the spectrum, and then the point here, this is x, and this is small x. So we wanted to study local behavior at the point x. So if you take a small neighborhood here, so that will correspond. So and the local ring at that point, so that is A localized at P. This is A localized at P. We are studying this local ring. So naturally, from this global setup, we come back to local ring. And then we have the concept of dimension, etc. And then further in the um, last few weeks lectures, you would have studied more properties of this local ring, like, for example, Cohen-Macaulay or Gorenstein, and some more other adjectives you would have studied and their properties and so on. So basically, we want to understand what happens at the point P in a neighborhood. Now, today's concept completion, even we will go even more locally. For example, see, if you would have seen this example, I think it must be in one of my exercise setup. So if you take this plane curve, for example, I will draw the picture. If you take this plane curve and this point origin is a singular point. And now you, in between, I think you have also learned what is the Jacobian criterion, what is the singular point, what is the regular. So I mean, I forgot to mention here, I should have done it before, regular local rings. So then you would have studied Jacobian criterion, how to decide some points are singular or non-singular. And so each P, we have this local ring AP. This is non-singular if and only if AP is regular. And we would have studied basic properties of the regular rings and so on. So now we want to even go more. We want to even, so if you look at this picture, and suppose I take a neighborhood here, that means basically so the equation will be y square minus x square plus x cube. So ideal generated by, this is the plane curve, this is the singularity. So if you take a neighborhood, then still it is this ring is an integral domain. So even the neighborhood, that means df. So it is a localization of this ring at f, and still it will be domain. So it will be still irreducible. But now when I want to make even further smaller, or I going to set up a different or a little bit more magnifying glass, then one would see that you can see actually two branches. So this ring is a domain, but when you go to so-called completion, then it will have two irreducible components. And this one also gives us opportunity to work like analysis. So this is what the idea is. Now what am I going to do is the following. So actually things can be done more generally, but as we don't have enough time to do all the things very general setup, I am going to start with the local ring. So AM local, and I will also assume Noetherian. And we are going to define a metric on, so A is our ring A, and I am going to define a metric on this ring A in such a way that this metric will be compatible with the ring structure. That means the addition and multiplication map in the ring, they will be continuous maps. When I say addition, that means think of it as a map from A cross A to A, that is XY going to, or AB going to A comma B going to A plus B. This is the addition map, and also going to AB. These two maps are continuous, and when you say continuous, that means you give a topology here, the product topology, which will come, which will be defined by the metric. All right, so how do we define the metric? All right, so what do you do is, we are in an Noetherian local ring case. So look at this A. If A is non-zero, then you choose a power of M where it belongs, but not in the next one. So there exists such R. R is because we have, I wanted to remind you, we have proved rules intersection there. Which said that if you are in an Noetherian local case, then the powers, intersection of the powers of the maximal ideals, this is 0. So because of that, we get this. So we can always choose. So now D of AB, you can define it to be 1 by 2 power. Okay, so let us give some name to this integer R. So that is called, let us put it, that is, this R is denoted by then omega A. It's called the order of A. So then this is omega of A minus B. Now, it is very, the 2 is not so important. It is what is important, it is more than 1. So it is very easy to check that this D is a metric. Metric on A. All right, so now whenever you have a metric space, so we have AD is a metric space. And we are going to complete it. So we will recall that process. We have learned in a very early in the college days that how whenever you have a metric space, then you can complete the metric space. And what was the procedure? May I get back to my original style where I would like some participants to say when I ask question, if they know it already. The advantage will be if they know it already, then I can skip it. Yes, please. Does anybody know?
Take the Cauchy sequences and make the equivalence classes.
Take the Cauchy sequence and then take what?
Making the equivalence classes by the relation d, x, and y and convert this to 0 as n tends to infinity.
Yes. And then, so what he says is, you take Cauchy sequences in A, CA, and in, so this is a subset of whom? See, it is better to know this is a subset of A power n. Think of A power n is, they are the maps from n to A, that means there are sequences in it. And these are some particular sequences in it. So, and this one, A power n is as a ring structure, namely the product, the It's a product ring structure. That means addition is defined component wise, multiplication is also defined component wise. And so with that, it becomes a ring. And this is a subring of that, because for that you will have to check that sum of two Cauchy sequences is again Cauchy sequence, and product of two Cauchy sequences is again Cauchy sequence, and so on. So that I am not going to do it. We are already we are assuming that we are already grown-ups. So those who have not seen it earlier, they can also check it now. They take this opportunity to check that this is a subring of that. And in this, now we are considering the null sequences, no? NA. These are the sequences which are null sequences. That means they are sequences which converge to 0. So this is, and then we are considering this quotient tree. CA mod NA. And this is what we call it A cap. This is called the completion. Now, this is one way to look at it. Now, different people will define in a different way, but all these versions will be equivalent. And this is called a completion of. This is called completion of. Completion of A. And now, before I go on further in the theory, first I want to discuss some examples. All right, so now how do I add the page?
So sweep it harder to the
Harder.
upward.
Okay, fine, thank you. Here also, here it is automatically added, or I have to? Okay, it's automatically added. Fine. All right, so now let allow me to take that A to be my base ring. This is my base ring, and as usual, I will assume it is Noetherian. I'm not assuming local now. All right, now if I have x1 to xn, they are indeterminates over this ring A, over A. Then I am just want to recall what is the power scissoring over A in these n variables, x1 to xn. This is formal power scissoring. This is called formal power scissoring. We will quickly recall what it is. All right, what is it? So think of elements are sequences. Think of them as sequences, Fi. Where Fi's are homogeneous polynomials, homogeneous of degree I in x1 to xn with coefficients in A. And on this ring, on these sequences, we are defining a product and addition and multiplication so that it becomes a ring. And obvious, so the addition is simple, it is component wise, and product is Fi times Gi. This you define it to be Hk, where Hk's are defined by summation Fi Gj I plus j equal to k. This is a standard. This product is also, it has some name. I think it is Cauchy or something, because Cauchy might be the first one to define this. So with this, it becomes a ring, and it's a commutative ring. And also to each Fi, to each element here, Fi, we have, if you call it F, this F is called a formal power series in x1 to xn over A. And to this we have attached number omega F, where omega F is infinity if F is 0. Otherwise, it is the smallest I which is non-zero. So this is minimum of Fi, minimum of I, such that Fi is non-zero. That is called order of a power series. This is called order of F. And you would have seen that such a thing plays an important role when you study basic complex analysis. And also it satisfies the obvious rules, like omega of 2 of them F plus G is bigger equal to the minimum of min of omega F omega G. That is obvious. And if Fg is non-zero, if F times G is non-zero, then omega Fg is omega F plus omega G. Also, I should have written this earlier. Omega of each xi is 1, and omega of F is bigger equal to 0. Why do this happen? I don't know. If and only if F naught is 0. These are obvious things to check. Also, with this you can describe the units. So also you can describe. It is very important to know what are the units usually in the commutative ring. More the number of units, better we have. So these units are precisely the units in A. So let me erase this anyway. So these are all those power series such that F of 0 is a unit in A. So in particular, if A is local, if and only if the power series is local. Is local, and if M is the maximal ideal here, then the maximal ideal here is M and generated by x1 to x. These are very basic things what one learns when we do basic examples of rings essentially. All right, so one more thing, that how do we test how do you find the order? Usually it's easy to again see that if F is non-zero, then F belongs to the ideal generated by x1 to xn power q and not in the next power. If and only if omega of F is q. This is again very easy to check. So we will not, I will not spend in checking this. If anybody has any difficulty, still we can discuss some of these things in the assignments. All right, now what is important remark I wanted to make is the following. All right, so let us take the polynomial ring A x1 to xn. we have sufficient experience we have studied this polynomial ring quite well so far, right? So this is obviously contained in the power series ring, and this is a subring, right? Because in fact, each polynomial is a sum of homogeneous polynomials, and therefore you can think of them as a finite sequence. And this one was sequence which was arbitrary length. All right, so we have an ideal here generated by x1 to xn. And that because I want to make some short notation, so I will just write this as ideal generated by x. So x is, think of x, I am taking it as a tuple. And similarly here, so it will look the same, but then we have to do with your experience that what we are talking, where we are talking, etc. So I will not distinguish. So ideal generated by x is here also, and ideal generated by x is here also. And in fact, this ideal generated by x is the intersection of this ideal with this ring. It's a contraction of that ideal. So don't worry about it. Whenever there is a chance of confusion, we will give the names. So the earlier observation says that the intersection of these powers is zero. For this, you don't need Krull's theorem and so on. This is obvious. All right, and here also we have that metric, etc. So what I want to make a comment is this power series ring is completion of x1 to xn, the polynomial ring here, and little bit be careful. This is with the x-adic completion. Because of this, I can imitate the definition of metric and so on, and I don't need local. So there it was, here it was used because we wanted to check it is a metric, and that happened because of the Krull's theorem. But here we don't need that because it's always true, because we are in a very special setup. So if this is a power series ring, is a completion of the polynomial ring with respect to the x-adic completion. Now, if you remember, what is the most important thing? Okay, before I go on, one more example. I should have made this comment earlier. For example, if you have a prime number P is a prime number, and we have this ring Z, and in Z, this prime number P will generate a prime ideal, and then we can go to localization, Z localize at P, and then we can go to completion. Now we have a local ring, Noetherian local ring, so we can go to completion. This is a very important ring for the number theory people. This is called ring of p-adic integers. So p-adic integers. But this ring is different from the rings we have considered. The mainly the rings what we were interested in the beginning in the earlier lectures, that they contain always a field, and this ring doesn't contain any field. This is an integral domain, but it doesn't contain any field. So these are the two different cases. So I will take this opportunity to also mention the following. So it is not too difficult to check the following. So let me write it as a observation. By the way, this ring was first considered by Henson. And that is where the beginning of completion started. That is when the people realized that this process of completion is very useful for studying local rings at a point, local rings of an algebraic varieties at a point. So what is the observation I wanted to make? If you have a local ring, then we have A and we have the residue field. This is the residue field. And we have the characteristic of A and we have the characteristic of the residue field. So what can happen if the characteristic, and so there is a natural map here. So if there is a, if this characteristic is 0, then the characteristic of A has to be 0. There is no other way. Because the characteristic 0 means it contains Q, and therefore Q will also be contained in it. So if the characteristic is 0, then the residual field also has characteristic 0. Remember I said this first, characteristic of the residue field is 0, then this is also 0. So otherwise, if the characteristic of the residue field is some prime P which is bigger than 0, then there are two possibilities here. What are the two possibilities? Either characteristic of the ring is also P, I will give examples of each type, or characteristic of A has to be power of P. This is very easy to check, and for checking this, you will need an assumption local. So that I am not going to check. So that I leave it for you to check that these are the cases which will appear. So these two cases, this one and this one, they are called equicharacteristic cases. And here also we have to mention if the character. See, remember my way of writing was, if this is 0, then it has to be 0. This is P, then one more case which I sloppily forgot. This is also can be 0. The three possibilities, either 0 or P power n. So let us see example. For example, in this case, characteristic of this ring is 0, but characteristic of the residue field is P. So if the characteristic of residue field is P, then the characteristic ring of the ring can still be 0. So these are these two cases when the characteristic of the ring is the characteristic of A equal to characteristic of the residue field, then we call it equicharacteristic case. Otherwise, inequicharacteristic case. So, our simple lemma here. Which again I will not prove. This is very easy to prove. AM Noetherian local. These some of the things Noetherian may not be needed, but I will always assume Noetherian local. Then A is equicharacteristic. if and only if A contains a field. These are called sort of geometry cases. So if you are, in our case, if you are with a finite type K algebra, say K algebra, finite type A, then A already contains the field. So therefore the characteristic, this K may not be the residue field, remember. So K may not be the residue field. All that we know from earlier knowledge that the residue field, if you have finite type algebra, this is not local. So if you take local, then the finite type will have problem. Then it will not be finite type in general. So if you go from finite type to localization and then to the residue field, our notation was kappa of P, then this contains K because the map is going through A and then local map. So it contains a field. So all these localization, local rings of an algebraic varieties over a field K, they are all equicharacteristic. And what is the goal in these lectures? I am going to I am going to characterize. I am going to list all the rings.
Sir,
That
just to
complete.
remind
Yes.
you, please keep scrolling the other side as well.
Sorry.
Please keep scrolling the left hand side of the screen as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to get used to the things. All right. So, the important problem in mathematics in almost all the subjects is to classify things. And this is usually a difficult problem. Usually, in some of the things are easier, but usually classification problems are more difficult. So, for example, the question whether can I know all the complete local rings? So, question is what are all complete local rings? Can I list them all? And the answer is yes. This was done by Cohen in 1946. That was his PhD thesis. Cohen was a student of Zariski. That was his PhD thesis. And of course, the easier is to give a classification of complete local equicharacteristic rings. So for the geometric situation, we have the answer. And what we are going to prove is, so if A is local, Noetherian local, complete, then A is isomorphic to a power series ring in n variables modulo some ideal A, where this K is a copy of the residue field inside A. Here equicharacteristic is the assumption. This is an isomorphism. That means K is a copy of the residue field which sits inside A. Already we know A contains a field because of the equicharacteristic case. Just now we have said the equicharacteristic, then it contains the field. But that field may not be a copy of the residue field. This field may be much smaller than the residue field. So we will prove this theorem. But this theorem requires some preparation and also a little bit experience with the completion. And the major step in this theorem is, such a field is called a coefficient field. Field of A. Coefficient field of A is by definition is the copy of the residue field which is sitting inside it. So that means more precisely it is a field inside case. So there is a map because it's a map from a field, it is injective. Then further if you compose with the residue field, then this map is an isomorphism of fields. So this is like a K spectrum. If you remember, K spectrum are all those maximal ideals which are isomorphic to that K, the given field. So the major step to prove this theorem is to prove the existence of the coefficient field. That is a major step. So I will just mention it. So major step is to prove the existence of the coefficient field. Okay. All right, that is a major step. If you, more generally, if you have inequicharistic case, then also we can describe what are the, we can give classification. Then instead of this K, there is something like, they are called Cohen algebras. And that we may not touch in this course because we will need much more machinery for that. I'm not sure whether we have all the machinery for that. And one of the more important concept usually used and many more which will come out of that is module of Kähler differentials. But I think Indranath has done some of it, but module of Kähler differentials. But and the properties and so on. So I will not go into, I won't have time to go into inequicharistic case. All right, but now we will do a little bit of power series. That will also give us a good understanding how to work with this. All right, so you remember we have used many times substitution homomorphism. If you have a finite type algebra over a field, then whenever you wanted to define a map from a polynomial ring, or so let me write it, that may be better feeling one gets if I write a little bit. So if A is a base ring, and B is A algebra of finite type over A, that means B is a quotient of a polynomial algebra in n variables. And we, for this comment, we may not need even finite type, but doesn't matter. So whenever, actually we have called it as the universal property of the polynomial ring. So whenever you have family of elements Bi, given in B, maybe infinite also. So this is family of elements in B, tuple indexed by the set I. Then from the polynomial ring in variables indexed by I to B, we get a unique A algebra homomorphism. We call it epsilon, if you call it B, epsilon B, and xi going to be I for each I. And this is epsilon B is K algebra. So its image is generated by, its image is the subalgebra generated by this BI. So image, if it is a generating set for this B as an A algebra, then this algebra homomorphism is surjective. And this we call it a substitution homomorphism. In other words, in short, for each polynomial, we can substitute arbitrary elements in an A algebra and then get an element in that A algebra. But now this one we cannot do it for the power series. See, if you have a power series in one variable, let's say one variable, and you say you have these power series 1 plus x square and so on. In this power series, we cannot put x equal to 1. It doesn't make sense because 1 plus 1 so many infinitely many times doesn't make sense. It's not defined. So this fails here. So we have to appropriately do it correctly so that we can also use it. And we need this because, see, ultimately we want to prove that if A is equicharacteristic, then it's a quotient of the power series ring over a field. That field is a copy of the residue field. And even in inequicharacteristic case, it is true, but K may not be a field in that case. It is what is called a Cohen algebra. That's a discrete valuation. So that if we have enough time, then actually we can at least state it. So first is for this. What do we do for the? What is the replacement for the substitution homomorphism? All right. So that is what I will state now. The next proposition. So suppose now we are, I am going to do it only finitely many variables. So suppose we have n power series, and now I cannot write the index down because that confuses with the homogeneous component. So I have to write it up here. F1 to Fn. These are the power series in n variables. Over ring A, and assume that their orders are at least 1. Orders of each Fi is bigger or equal to 1. So this is for each I. Then we can, okay, then I want to say that whatever we are doing it makes sense. That means whenever we have power series, so I want to define a map from power series over A in n variables, y1 to yn, to a x1 to xn. So each yi going to Fi. Remember, I have not taken arbitrary elements, but I have taken with this condition. Then this is an A algebra homomorphism. That means I can extend it to arbitrary. So that means if I have any power series G, if G is any power series in n variables, y1 to yn over A, then the G of F1, F power, not power, F this n, this is again a power series. And this once you check this, then this homomorph is easy to check, then this homomorphism is an A algebra homomorphism. This is A algebra. And what does one need to check? For polynomials, it is okay. So we have to say that it makes sense for the polynomial. So I am telling the oral proof, but you have to do little bit checking. So we have to check that things converge. So that is used because for that we need this condition. All right. So should I check formally or leave it? I think I want to leave it. We will discuss this in exercises. All that we have to do is to do it for the polynomial, and then say that the limit exists, and that will make sense. All right, and we can get many such K-algebra homomorphism. Just what do? You just take this ideal. If you take the ideal, okay, let us do it. So immediate corollary to this I want to write is, if you have a field K and now power series in n variables over K, and then if I take this vector space K, vector space generated by Kx1, Kxn, this is n-dimensional vector space, and if I take any automorphism of this sigma is what, if you like, call it V, what Vk, it's a K-linear automorphism of this way, then this each V, each sigma will give you an automorphism of this power series ring, because I can take those Fi's to be sigma of Xi's. So take Fi's to be sigma of Xi's. Then this sigma will give an automorphism of this power system to itself. Power series. So there are many automorphisms of the vector space. It's n-dimensional vector space. So we have many automorphisms, so that each one of them will give you this also I forgot to change it. Okay, fine. Okay, now I want to also come back. How much time do we have? Kriti, how much
So
time do we
roughly
have? We have half
20
an hour.
minutes.
Half an hour, no?
Yes.
All right. So I want to come back to these theorems of Weierstrass. So theorems of Weierstrass. There are two theorems. So division, Weierstrass division theorem and Weierstrass preparation theorem. These are very important theorems, but unfortunately, these are not taught in the usual courses of algebra or commutative algebra. I don't know why. They should be included immediately when one studies polynomials. polynomials and power series, they should be studied together. But anyway, so we will try to do these theorems now, and I will do it for the power seasoning over a field. So K equal to Xn. K field. Anyway, our aim is to prove our equicharacteristic complete local rings are precisely the quotient of such rings. And these two theorems, division and preparation, will also prepare us to study this power series ring in n variables. So, for example, division ring corresponds to the division algorithm in the polynomial. And preparation theorem will also be useful to prove some properties of these power series rings by reducing the number of variables. For example, if one wants to prove this ring is a UFD or this ring is a regular is easy because by one has to prove the dimension is n. Anyway, dimension is n, that can be easily seen, and the number of generators for the maximality is also n. So it's a regular local ring. Division algorithm is very important for that. And so, okay, let us state now the first. I need a definition. So in this case, first of all, note that in this case, what are the invertible elements? Units. They are precisely the power series which evaluated at 0 is non-zero. So F is a unit in this ring. If and only if F of 0, 0, 0, 0 is non-zero. See, this makes sense because the orders, I cannot write 1, 1, 1, 1 or 1, 0 like that. So that is wrong to write it. Because in that case, I am not allowed to substitute variables to be a power series which are of order 0. Order 0 are not allowed because that will give a problem for the convergence. All right. So the first definition. So definition. All right. So so F is the power series. We call this power series to be regular in Xn of order P. That means when I substitute the remaining variables to be 0, you get a polynomial in Xn of degree P. Right? When you substitute the remaining variables to be 0 and keep Xn, then that should be a polynomial in Xn of degree P. Then you call it regular in Xn of order P. All right. So what does that mean? Symbolically, F at 0, 0, Xn. This looks like Xn power P times G of X, where G is a polynomial with the condition G of 0 is not. Or to be, if you want to spell it out, you write it. This is Xn power P A0 if you want to write A0 plus A1 x n power p minus 1 and so on, where this A0 is 1.
Sir, it should be p plus 1.
Huh?
It should be p plus 1.
T plus 1.
I mean, the power should increase
Why?
because you are multiplying xn power p with a polynomial, right?
All right, all right. So I have to find out, I have to write the right notation. Okay. No, no. Okay. So what I mean is, okay, fine. I understand my problem of writing. So let me write a bigger place. Yes, yes, I know. So where g of xn, let me write on the next page. G of xn looks like A0 xn power p plus A1. Now this A1 is not a constant. Power p minus 1. I want to use the same notation. I want to use it. And so on. Up to AP, where this A naught is 1 and A1, AI 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, etc., etc. That is 0. So these coefficients are not in constant, but the AI is A1 to AP, they are power series in the remaining values. N. Now is it clear? Navakumar. Hello.
Sir, when you are substituting all these n minus 1 variables by 0, should they not become in? I mean, this AI should be in k in that case, right? To satisfy this equation, if 0, 0, 0 xn equals to xn power p gxn. I mean, I didn't get this point. How these AIs are in this power series ring?
No, no. See here already the g of xn already you see here. It's already I put the zeros here. So g is actually a polynomial. So if you want, I can write it like this. Okay. G0, G, already said no, G0 is non-zero. So here, G of, so, all right. So G looks like this. So it's a polynomial A0 y power p plus A1 y power p minus 1 and so on, AP, where this you think of, this is a polynomial in k x1 to xn polynomial y. This is, and when I, in this polynomial, when I put y equal to xn and the remaining variables to be 0, then you get the g. Now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, is the power series in n minus 1 variables? The very last polynomial you wrote has coefficients in power series ring with n minus 1 variables?
Yes, yes. This one here. This one, no?
Yes.
Yes.
This should be n minus 1.
All right. So that is what the what is it called, the polynomial is called regular in Xn of order p. So in other words, this polynomial, this power series F, it actually belongs to K power series in xn minus 1 and then the polynomial. Then we call it a regular of order, regular in xn of order p. Now the division theorem says that given any power series, I should be able to divide by such power series. So let us write it precisely. So this is a division theorem. This is Weierstrass division theorem. So you start, I think I want to find a little bit short to write this notation. So let us call On to be the power series over a field in n variable. Okay, and let us start with phi, big phi, power series in On, which is regular in xn of order p. Then two parts I want to write. Then see, once you write your statements clearer, then it will prompt you what to how to prove it. So it is not a big deal. So for every power series F in On, there exists a tuple Q and R, quotient and remainder. Think of a polynomial. And then what was in the polynomial case? You can divide this F by this phi and get a quotient and remainder. So that means you write, okay, first, where are they? Where are these? Q is the power series in n variables, and R is a remainder. So R is a power series, a polynomial in n minus 1 variables with a polynomial in xn such that F equal to Q times phi plus R. Is it clear, the statement? So it's like a division algorithm. We will prove it. And what is the second statement? Okay, second statement is second statement is if moreover if so second if he is a distinguished polynomial, so this is also called, so I better to introduce a word. Such a polynomial is called a distinguished polynomial. That means it's a polynomial in one variable y, and then the remaining variables are the power series variables. So this such a polynomial is called a distinguished polynomial. So if phi is distinguished, then and if f is also a polynomial in xn, then q and r, they are also a polynomial in this. So let me write it. So if phi is distinguish in Xn, let us say, in Xn, and if f is in On minus 1 Xn, then Q and R also are in On minus 1 Xn. So distinguish means a polynomial, this such a polynomial is called distinguish. It's a polynomial in one variable y with the remaining a.
Sir, is that mean that distinguished polynomials will be always regular?
Yes, by definition, no.
Okay. But it may happen that the highest degree term will have coefficient of power series, not exactly 1.
No. See here, that okay. So that means um, that means the. So what is your question? If see this is regular in Xn, so this is.
I am asking that whether this regular in Xn of order P and distinguished, these two are the same terms or not.
They are the same terms. They are the same terms.
Okay.
They are the same terms. So yes, they are the same terms.
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Yes, Ganesh.
sir, regular polynomial means the coefficients of x to the power ni, uh, those coefficients are actually coming from the maximal ideal. No,
Yes.
means after
Except for
putting
the top one, no. Except for the top one.
yeah, except for the means I am asking the structure of the regular element, that is f is actually summation of something ai xn to the power I, where up to pth step the coefficients are looking like some alpha times elements from the maximal ideals, and after that the coefficients are in the maximal ideal.
That is why this word use no or regular in Xn of order P. That means you see here this P is the order of this, because this will be at least P, because this A1 is in the maximal ideal, so it will be at least P. So that is why this word is order is used. Order is used because of that. And this P is this is order P, and here it may be P or more. Is that clear?
Yeah, that is clear. So I am saying that the distinguishment, it is just a polynomial, means there are no terms after xn to the power 2.
Yeah, but yeah, distinguish means it's a polynomial in Xn, but with this property again, that the coefficients of the lower degree terms of y are in the maximal ideal.
Okay. Acha.
And more clarity will come when we start proving the things.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you.
proof. Okay, I want to before I prove, I want to prove the preparation theorem, and then we will spend time to prove this theorem. This division theorem we will prove later, but right now I want to use this division theorem to prove the preparation theorem, because that is more convenient. So once again, so this means division theorem says that arbitrary power series you can divide by a power series which is regular in Xn of order P, and the result of the division is a quotient which will be a power series in n variables, and the remainder is again a polynomial in Xn with coefficients in the remaining variables. But now it may not have the top coefficient which was in the distinguished case. This is 1, that will not be there. So that means the remainder may not have the order condition. All right. So let us now state and prove Weierstrass preferential theorem. I hope I can do it today via and the advantage of this theorem is, for example, to prove the power seasoning the UFD over a field. And if you don't assume the base to be a field, then there are serious problems. It's not like Gauss's theorem for the polynomial ring. All right. So what is the preparation theorem? All right. So F in the power series in n variables. So regular in Xn of order P. Then there exists a polynomial P in n minus 1 variables, power series in n minus variable over in Xn of degree P when I say degree P in Xn. And a power series and Q, the power series in n variable, such that Q of 0 is non-zero and such that F equal to phi Q. Q is the phi I have not phi as earlier. So phi, let us write it also here. Phi is here. Phi is where is it? Here. Phi is regular in Xn of order P. All right. Moreover, these Q, P and Q are uniquely determined. Moreover, P and Q are uniquely determined. Is the statement clear? See, that means, see, if you see the statement, this means this Q0 is non-zero. That means this Q is a unit.
So what is P?
Q is a unit, right? Q0 is non-zero, so Q is a unit. So that means given any power series which is regular in Xn of order P is up to a unit, it is a distinguished power series.
Sir, what is the role of P here?
Huh?
What is the role of P?
Oh, P. I have forgotten P.
F is equal to P times of Q.
So. This is my P. Sorry, this is my P. There is no F here. There is a P. Sorry, this is my P. Hmm?
So then there exist P means
No. Okay, so see, the whole thing is messed up. This is phi. This is phi. Phi is regular in Xn of order P. Then there exists P such that now it's correct. There exists P polynomial such that this is this. So if this is distinguished, then this is a polynomial P. So this is a unit. So any regular in Xn of order P, that power series, when you multiply by some unit, it becomes a polynomial in Xn of degree P in Xn. Still there is some problem. The problem is I change my notation in this writing and here. Yeah, okay. Let us start proving it, and we will correct it if needed. So proof. So we have given phi. We have given phi, which is regular in Xn of order P. So what does the division theorem says? That we can divide by phi and get a quotient and remainder. So, and I am going to apply it to f equal to xn power p and phi. This is my f. See, I am going to apply. Oh, why am I doing that? I am not using this facility here. See, I want to use a division theorem. So for every f, there exists q and r. So I have given f. I have f. I have chosen this f, and I have given this c. So I can divide by this c and get a quotient and remainder. So what do I get? Xn power p. This will be equal to some power series q phi plus r, where q is a power series, q is in On, and r is a polynomial with coefficients in On. This is by division theorem. All right, then what? So that means this polynomial r. So let us write it. It is a polynomial. So this means xn power p equal to q times phi minus. Let me write it minus. So this is ai xn p minus I is from 1 to p. I have written the other way. Is that okay? I have not done anything. And where are AIs? AIs are power series in n minus 1 variables, remaining n minus 1. It's okay? Navakumar, is it okay?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in the division theorem, do we have some argument on the degree of R?
On degree of whom?
R.
We don't have. That is why we will have to work a little bit more.
Okay, so
No, 1 minute. What is in division theorem with the Q, no? Yeah. So here, the degree of R should be less than P. So degree of R should be strictly less than P. It's like in a Euclidean algorithm. So that is why here also. See, when I take what is the maximum term here, I equal to 1, no. So it is P minus 1. It's correct. It's okay. Thank you. Now in this power series, in this equation, I am going to put x1, all the x1 to xn minus 1 to be 0. I am going to put in this. That's allowed because their orders are more than 1. Then what will you get in this equation? So xn power p equal to phi of 0, 0. I am writing phi first. 0, 0 xn q of 0, 0 xn minus that will ai 0, no? Summation I is 1 to p ai 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 and then xn as it is. And where are these ai 0, 0, 0, 0? They are in K. So now, and what was Q? Oh, there exists Q. Q0 is non-zero. Q0 is non-zero. That was from the division. No, okay. So we are here, no? So where is it? How do you? Here is correct. Okay. So now further what? Therefore, now I want to keep this. Um, Now what do I do here? This equation I want to rewrite it. So our assumption on phi is it's a distinguish, right? So it looks like, so here I want to show it to you here. Here I wrote it here now. Phi is here in this. Phi is regular in xn of order p. It looks like this. So this phi of 0, 0, 0, 0 xn. This looks like xn power p g of xn. Where g is the power series in xn. And therefore, when you put it, I am going to put this in this equation. So you will get, and maybe simplify. So xn power p times 1, and I put this the other side minus g of xn. So this is out, this out from here, times q of 0, 0, 0, 0 xn is equal to, so I have shifted this term that side. Here I have substituted this equal to this because it's a regular in xn of order p, and then this remains. So that will be equal to minus this summation, minus summation I is from 1 to p ai 0, 0, 0, 0 xn p minus I. All right. Shall I go on with the next page?
This q should be inside the bracket, right?
Sorry.
That q should be inside the bracket, right? Because you are replacing the term phi.
Here,
Yeah, in the last line. It should look like x to the power n p within bracket 1 minus g times q. Is it?
see, I have put this power series equal to this, right? So I put that here, and then I shifted this to the other side. So
Yeah.
that is this one. This is first one is this one. This I shifted here, and that q should be in the bracket. This big bracket, this bracket should be here. Yes. Does it happen here also? Yes, very good. So we got this equation. Now, let us put, what do you know about AI? These AIs.
Sir, just a time check. It's close to 4:10.
Yeah, sorry.
Just a time check for you. The class, it's like it's already 4:10, close to 4:10.
Now I will need only 2 minutes.
Okay.
Now it is only a rearrangement. So, okay, I understood. So I will say now just complete it. Just now it's nothing. So just write it. So use the fact that AI at 0 is 0, and you just substitute xn equal to 0. Substitute xn equal to 0 and see what you get. When you put xn equal to 0, what do you get? This, you will get the equation 1 equal to g0 q of 0, 0, 0. And therefore q, see, our assertion was q of 0 is non-zero. So when you put, once you get this equation 1 equal to this, then this has to be non-zero. That's it.
Sir, how is this conclusion coming?
See,
You have to compare the coefficient first, then put x in.
yes. See here, when you take I equal to P, there is nothing here. And then what is more assumption we have? See here I wanted to put xn equal to 0 if I put. Then this, not xn. Not xn. No. Okay. So little bit work we have to do it. I think comparing I equal to No, I will complete it next time. Maybe better I write it next time. I am not sure whether this works better for me. Okay. Sorry if I have created, but after that is nothing much now. Just have to tie up together. Okay. Sorry, I delayed and maybe confused a little bit. Fine. So these two theorems are very, very important. And we will prove next time Weierstrass division theorem. That will require a little bit more efforts. And then we will do some corollaries from there. Okay.